Hello, I'm Larry Prohaska, and I'm making this short video to give you an introduction to what the program I call Count on Me is all about. I've been working with leaders for 3 decades. I've been teaching for longer than that. And there's kind of this expression that's gone around for many years. One of them, the early quotation was, people don't care how much you know, so they know how much you care. And the other part of the expression is people will always believe your behavior before they believe your words. So I was triggered actually by the quotation from Woody Allen, and I saw a review that said he's not actually sure he said this, but he said 80% of success is simply showing up. And it got me thinking. I've worked with vice presidents in organizations that had people leaving their office in tears, and I was brought in to coach them on how to be more proactive, more constructive, more humanistic in their approach. And they were offended by that because they thought they were taking care of the company's best interest. And they wound up not being relevant to the world and be moved on. So the thought for me was, everybody's showing up. How are you showing up? And as I mentioned in the recording, if you've seen it on the Spirit of Leadership, people are too busy to have time for reflection. If you don't reflect, you repeat. You're stuck in a rut. You repeat the same habits, the same patterns. You keep doing things that are ineffective. You're waiting for a crisis to strike, and a crisis means it's more painful to stay the same than it is to change. So a part of this whole program is just that being able to take time to reflect and say, well, wait a minute. I am showing up. How am I showing up? So a couple of the pieces that come into this program, I've been touched deeply by the work from Simon Sinek and the video that he gave for a TED Talk, that presentation he made in 2009 called Start With Why. I think now in 2021, it's like the third most watched TED Talk ever. It's got over 50 million views. And it's a really simple process. And the process is everybody knows what they do, but very few know how they do what they do when they're at their best, and almost none know why they do. And so I spend a fair amount of time in this program helping people get clear. You're either following priorities that you believe in, or you're following priorities you've been talked into believing. And so a big part of this program is helping people go into that purposeful, inner driven why. What is it I'm doing when I'm so aligned with myself? I feel like this is what I'm born to do. You lose track of time. You feel energized and mobilized by what you're doing. And the tricky part is people are so accustomed to analysis, they're trying to figure out what their why is, and you cannot find it that way. It's a feeling that comes up. So one of the things we talk about is a contrast of being successful versus being fulfilled. If you don't know your why, it's really, really difficult to ever have a sense of fulfillment. So that's a part of the program. The other part of the program, one part of the program, there's a process that Stephen Covey talked about that has to do with the circle of concern and circle of influence. And I believe I could probably go back to the same company and do a program on the circle of concern, circle of influence, probably every couple months. And essentially what it means is, in my world of influence, these are things that I have the direct and immediate ability to impact. Outside this world, I don't. And if you focus on the outside world, you diminish your influence and you exhaust and wear yourself out. And I bring that in as a reminder because a lot of the concerns that people have, the things that they want to do, they're pushing against these huge things that they may not ever have the ability to impact, but yet there's a microscopic way that you can manage your focus, manage your intention, manage your appreciation, manage your ability to give praise and focus on what people are doing right, that will dramatically grow and expand your influence. And the third piece, I bring in some information from Greg McKeown, who is a professor at Stanford, excuse me, and he did some work on what he calls essentialism. And I think Jim Collins talked about that one time, that what happens when companies, when they're successful, is that after a while, they get too big, and I know this is Greg McKeown talked about this, they get too big and they start having multiple focus, where when organizations start, they have like 3 or 4 things. These are the things we have to do well to be successful. Then all of a sudden there's so many things they lose sight of what their priorities are. The quote from Greg in a short video that I saw was, if you are not disciplined in the pursuit of the essential, then you'll be undisciplined in the pursuit of more. And I find in a nutshell, I took a trip after my parents passed away. I was their primary caregiver. Took my backpack and I went wandering for 10 months. Took a year to recuperate and then a year to travel and kind of revive myself. And when I came back to America, the first time in 10 months I heard the word busy. And that's almost like the gold star. It's like, how have you been? Oh, I've been busy. Doesn't matter if you've been productive or if you've been a jerk or if you've been abusive to people, but if you can say I've been busy, it's like, great. A good productive member of our society. So essentialism is more about what are the 2 or 3 things that are really essential for you to do well in order to have the kind of impact and influence that you'd like to have. And of course, underneath all of those things, everyone wants to know, and they probably already do know, is what they can count on you for. Are you going to be a critic or are you going to praise? Are you a fault finder or are you a problem solver? Do you help people discover solutions? Do you bring people up or do you bring them down? And the dramatic example are organizations I've worked with that when the boss was gone, the leader, manager, whatever title you want to put on them, people were more energized, they're more enthusiastic, they're more playful, they're more creative, they interact with each other differently. And as soon as the boss comes back, all of that gets suppressed. Well, that's an influence caused by presence. So if that appeals to you, talk to me about that, because it's a short program, it's a couple hours. But it really gets into principles, and this is something I build into all my program. It gets into principles that are relevant to every aspect of your life and not just your business. So there you have it in a little nutshell. It's kind of a summary of what the Count on Me program is all about. Take care of yourself. Have a great life. Bye-bye.